Wonderful Tuesday morning, getting ready to start the day. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. As we can see, the overnight session has traded above yesterday's high, basically right to the base of the spike, putting in that poor high. We also have a poor low, and we're pretty much right back in the middle of the range. Overnight had a double distribution, right? Kind of an ugly one, but not everything is perfect like it looks in the book. But we're back in that lower distribution, kind of filling in this weak spot here. We still have the VPOC from the overnight session down at the low. Some key things to think about from yesterday's session, or some things that I'm keying in on, is this point of control. I would like to see it act as support. That's at 44.44. As we know, we caught some decent long entries from there. Break this out, right? There were some decent impulses from the G and the H level. Even the K level caught a nice move up from that level as well. So we'd like to see it act as support. We saw it get liquidated yesterday all the way back down to the settle, and the market closed basically just a couple of ticks or a couple of points below the open. Settle was 31 quarter, open yesterday was 28, so still showing a little bit of buying. We did see the longer term buyer, at least to me, is what it looked like around that 23 level, and so we'll still be watching that level as a possibility of support. But the first level that I'm going to be watching is this point of control from yesterday. Should the market hold that point of control, that target will become yesterday's high, and then of course some of these single prints. The key today, going into the end of the month tomorrow with options expiration and everything, if the market is going to move up, or if you are going to see some people closing out these puts that I'm sure they're in before they expire tomorrow, especially with basic volatility just getting crushed, right? If we look over here at the VIX, I haven't even looked at the VIX today, but I just assumed it was down, and it is down, which is pretty typical because they're just killing volatility, right? Volatility, the IV ranking, is what drives up the options prices, right? More volatile options gain more money, basically. And so they're going to bring that down as the market balances, or the market doesn't move, it becomes less volatile, and the options premium gets a little bit lower, and they're killing it with what they call theta, which is the time killer, right? So if the market doesn't move anywhere, and let's say you've got some 4,000 puts or some 400 SPY puts, and the market's just sitting here balancing at the 40.25 or 40.40, 40.50, well, every day that goes by, you lose money, right? That's the theta that's killing these puts, and that's typically what these market makers like to do. So it makes sense that as we start to see some people close these puts, right, buy them back, the market might move up off of that, and we might see a little bit of short covering. Not necessarily saying that there's going to be a big buyer that steps up and initiates price above and wrecks into all these single prints, but it is something that we want to just be aware of, this possibility of a short covering as the market moved down a pretty significant amount this close to the end of the month. Adam, good morning. Roach, good morning. Uncle Stacy, good morning. Peter, good morning. Pop, good morning. Other Adam, good morning. Hopefully you all are doing well. Flying Pop, hey, good morning. Are you all ready? We are ready. What time is it? 9:16. So let's go ahead and take a peek around the block real quick. We can see the dollar has come down a little bit compared to yesterday. Let me go ahead and add something here. We've got the daily open, and I want to add yesterday's. I found a study where we could get the prior day close. And we'll put the prior day close as pink. There we go. Just to give us, that settle and then the open from today, right? Give us a little bit more insight on some of these things as we're watching them, the same studies that we look for on the TPO. We'll look over at the 6A, the Australian dollar. It's actually doing well. The 6E is actually doing well as well. That's the euro. And that's kind of key. If the market is going to go lower, these things are going to have to bounce. Bitcoin went up above 20,000, really hanging out around this 20,000 level. Market for the most part in crypto kind of struggling to hold Bitcoin below 20,000. It seems like it dips below, pops back up. JB, good morning. Gets above, comes back, right? That 20,000 really acting as a magnet. Oil getting pushed down a little bit today. And so this is a key thing that I wanted to bring up this morning. If we don't see strength in equities this morning, right? Oil, the rally in oil pretty much held the stock market up yesterday. If oil doesn't continue to rally or equities start to trade lower, then the market will trade lower, right? It's just science. We know the ES gold is coming back down after trending up yesterday, starting to just come back down slowly. The Nasdaq had a nice push up, but is back inside yesterday's range. Apple pre-market looks like it's going to be opening up near its highs from yesterday. AMD a little bit weaker, not nearly as high, getting rejected off that 90 level. Remember, we're watching this 88 level, really this 90 level too, but if AMD gets below this 88 level, you could see some real momentum start to build on the downside for AMD. While I'm thinking about it, let me update these open interest. AMD showing puts counts before the open doesn't mean it will head down. It just means that we are likely in for a ride today. Nice. Sound like that. Amazon doing okay, but it's pretty much entered its yesterday's range. You see what looks like to me somebody bought some Amazon pre-market at a nice low price of 129, right? So that will be significant to watch today for me. If AMD or if Amazon holds above this level, that will show some strength for Amazon. Disney gapping up today, but has traded back into the range. Google, a nice move up in the pre-market, but has since come back to life. Meta, still looking like a bag of shit. Microsoft really just doing nothing like it always does. It really does nothing until it does something. Really hard stock to play, I think. Netflix kind of just hanging out. Nvidia, the same as AMD. Looks like it bounced up a little bit, but not able to make it back up to those highs. You can see the 10-year is rising pretty steadily, one time framing up higher here during the pre-market. And Tesla, nice big move up, and looks like a little buyer here trying to stay above that 290 level. So let's go ahead and put an alert here as well. So we're seeing a decent move on equities, right? We're seeing at least some strength in equities as we're seeing the weakness in oil, which is decent for the market. Not great, but the market, oil coming down and equities going up is typically good for the market. Oil's really close to that $100 level again, which is not outstanding for price in equities. This chart will just stay zoomed in. Any questions before we get started? We'll take a quick commercial break. I gotta take my medicine. I forgot to take my medicine this morning. Hey bro, do you trade currencies? I have before. I don't typically. Sometimes I trade currencies if I have some good information. I feel like I shorted the Australian dollar for a pretty extended amount of time during COVID. Worked out pretty well. Lecker, what's up, man? Good morning. Morning, Jared. Adam, yeah, I mean, we can take a look at currencies if you want to take a look at currencies. I have no issue with it. I know one of our members, Poke, he likes to trade currencies, or she. I'm not sure if it's a he or she, but I know they like to trade currencies. Because there we added a forex channel in the Discord. Had a lot of people interested in it. So yeah, I mean, and if you know about it, we'd love to have you and get some more insight on it for sure. Yeah, bro. Any ones in particular that you want to look at? Yeah, no problem. Let's we'll get this open underway and then we'll take a peek at some currencies. Go ahead and get some Reveille rolling so we can start this day off strong. All right. Let's rock and roll. We've got about 4 minutes until the market opens. Now's that time when you want to do what you need to do. Take a deep breath, spin around in your chair, spin your fidget spinner, do whatever you've got to do in order to prepare your mind for the day. Get ready to rock and roll. What'd you say? Morning, Crypto Mojo. Euro USD. Morning, Kevin. Got about 2 minutes. The fuck is? So if we look at the euro on a daily level, I mean, it's just in a downtrend. Euro versus USD, it's in a downtrend for a pretty significant amount of time here. That would be kind of the next target up. Like, you know, you could say it's in a channel too, because it's kind of been getting support relatively off the same level as we can kind of see, right? Comes down, pops up, comes down, pops up, comes down, pops up. Same idea. Still making lower lows, so that's going to be kind of your key sign. Is going to be a break of this level. So really, to get interested in the Euro USD on the long side, you're going to be wanting to look around. It's the high here, this 1.03678 level. That would give you, you know, some interesting opportunity in the long side on a pullback down to like the 102 level to catch it up, you know, back to this 107 level. I think a lot of forex, unless you're going to go high lev, you're better off swing trading. All right, here's the open. So we open up really close to yesterday's point of control. The open's almost right on yesterday's point of control. So got the 100 SMA right above here at the 40.50. Key here will be watching to see if it gets some strength off of this point of control. Jason Taylor, what's up, man? Let's get this bag. So nothing really too big. Back and forth across the open here. Back up to the open here. Back above it. Not really the reaction, you know, that we wanted to see as far as seeing some strength off yesterday's point of control. So this thing might need to auction a little bit lower to find some buyers here. And then that would bring you down to that last, or that Globex point of control around that 40.36, 40.35, 75. And then you can see where the VPOC's at, the settle. Might be an opportunity for buyers to step up as well. Take a peek at the breadth. The breadth is, you know, relatively, you know, pretty much kind of muted, not really leaning to one side or another. Nasdaq's a little bit stronger than the overall market here, but nothing really standing out too crazy. Apple coming back down to its open. See the triple Qs coming down here. All of the sectors have flipped to red now. Healthcare getting just absolutely damaged. A little bit of short covering down there. Morning, Trin. Bot got into a put. So watch this half back. It's like a lot of volume coming in right above it. If this thing breaks up above the 43, you may see a little bit of move to the upside. So far, they're still offering this 41 to 43 level, though. Still doing a pretty decent job. Looks like they're selling just above half back. Watch this 43.50. Yeah, they popped it. So be careful here on this. It goes right above the open and then comes right back down. So they're still offering that 43.5. It's fairly strong selling on the open. Looked a bit mechanical. Not necessarily saying that it's weak, just saying that you've got to be, carrying that forward. One thing that when I was watching some Jim Dalton yesterday, it reminded me of a lot of times traders get too focused on one data point. So remember that, there is some mechanical selling here happening right off of the open, but that's just one data point. So you can't just focus in on that and assume, okay, well, this thing is going to rally because it's bouncing right off of the open. That's mechanical. Mechanical sellers are weak. We're going to break above the open. That's why we always try to maintain perspective. We're right here at the weekly VWAP at the 39. I've noticed focusing on one data point is usually the start of your worst days. Yeah. Hey, Brad is talking about me. You guys are fucking too much. But I mean, yeah, that. It just reminded me yesterday. I was listening to some Jim Dalton, and he had said that, and I'm like, you know what? That's a good thing. I should bring that up tomorrow because I think a lot of people would resonate with a lot of people. They hear that. So if you remember yesterday, we found buyers around the 23, the 34, and the 43. Those are levels I have written down from yesterday. Back up to this 43.50. If they break the 43.50 and hold, I am kind of expecting a bit of short covering. They got a little bit of a look below, but they weren't able to trade all the way down to the last, which is, to me, kind of weak. I feel like they should be able to push that down, or maybe that was just a little correction of overnight inventory and that's all they had. All counts are slowly climbing. We're starting to see, XLY has flipped back to green, financials has flipped back to green, communications flipped back to green, tech looks like it's just about to go green. We can see Apple basically hovering right above its open here. Energy looks weak. Staples look weak. Utilities looks okay. Materials looks okay. Real estate looks okay. Watch this 43.50 level. This is where I think you could see a little bit larger of a move up from here. So they still offer that level here, so that's actually not bad. Let's see if they can get down there. A lot of selling coming in on the 40 here, a lot of offering on the 40. See if they can get down there and touch this last. Got a call count AMD, not sure this will go your way. Oh, I mean, it still looks, still looks pretty weak. Like they got up to that 43 twice and weren't able to take it above. You might still be good. Yeah, there's a consumer confidence report at 10 a.m.
Don't get me wrong, I'm still praying for it, but I'm just saying it's giving me mixed signals. Which, given for a day like today, that's what I would expect, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think we could see a bit more balance today, just because we've got a lot of. I mean, the end of the month is soon, and then options expiry is soon as well. So there's some mechanical buying right off the last. Ticks it almost exactly. Your own trader, you might not be looking at the same thing as somebody else. Yeah, exactly. Like, and everyone trades a little bit different, right? So, like, um, like, just to use Jared as an example, for me, like, we just trade very differently, and not that one of us is right or wrong, but I'm right. No, I'm just kidding. But like, it's just different, right? And something that he does is not necessarily saying the same thing that I would do, right? I consider myself more of a slow trader, um, just because for me, it's in my experience, it's been a little bit less stressful for me. But that doesn't necessarily mean everyone needs to be a slow trader. Some people are fast traders. Some people, you know, like to scalp on high leverage. A little bit for me, a little bit more risky. I'm more in this for, the long game. I'm not worried about, if I gotta sit here at the computer for the trade to come to me, and I gotta sit here all day to earn a paycheck, then that's what it takes sometimes for me, and I'm not, I'm not really against that. Sparkling Wild Berry Celsius. Let's see what this one's all about. I haven't had this one yet. Not bad. Not great though, but not bad. Yeah, we've got consumer confidence in 19 minutes and the Jolts job opening. So it's going to be pretty, I think a fairly significant market mover. Should should be at least. We'll see. But see, all the sectors have flipped red here. Still just kind of hanging out around this last. Call count fluke. Well, we're getting, I mean, down. Remember, we saw this 33 level. We saw 23, 33, or 23, 34, excuse me, and 43 act as some buying yesterday, at least in my opinion. Right, this is kind of where the numbers that I have written down that we had some buying coming in from. I think we identified a buyer at 23, and then 34 there was another buyer, and then 43. Not saying that the same players are in the game today, but it's always good to carry forward at least couple things, couple things. And that 100 SMA is at the 40-50, right? So we might see some selling right off that, and 40-50 seems to be a pretty easy to see number as well. Counts are 30 to 54. XLF and communications are really kind of just back and forth here, looking at positive and negative. Is that today? Ooh, Tesla just broke that low level that we marked during the pre-market. So we had marked, if we Remember that Tesla had this nice wick down here that we saw some possible buyers, and Tesla's just getting absolutely smashed right now. Coming back down to yesterday's close.
What's going on with Tesla?
It's going to hell, Jared. I've been telling you this for like a week
No,
now.
I know. But whenever I said it, everybody fucking laughed at me.
That's because you said it like last year in 2020 in September.
Hey, no.
Went up
It
like
was
a mile.
$1,200 a share, and I shorted it, and it just did not get to my price. I shorted it at the right time, Brad. It just didn't get to what I thought it was going to get to.
I don't know if I would say that was the right time. I would say you're a little bit early.
I
A
mean,
little premature.
okay, in hindsight, we
What
know that.
expiration did you buy? It's not about buying it at the right time. It's about making certain you have enough time for it to do what you want.
No,
Yeah.
I bought out like a year. It just didn't
Did you dump it early then?
No, it was just too early.
I ended up getting out in a little profit. It just I would have made a lot more money if I just held.
So starting to get a little move here. Look to see if it's going to break this Globex low. And then I'm watching this 23 level as a possible level for buyers to start showing up if it gets down there. You can see the weak spot in the profile right here around that 33. So maybe some buyers that were buyers yesterday around that level look to be capitulating in the same spot there. While the market's just kind of balancing. Let's go ahead and take a peek at what was the other one that Adam wanted to look at? The GDP versus the AUD. Let's look on the daily. Uh-oh. Who was that? That was Jared for sure. His mic's always echoing.
It was me.
Put counts are rising slowly compared to call counts. Yeah, it looks like longs are liquidating here. It looks like longs are kind of capitulating and getting out of these positions here fairly quick. Actually doing, not terrible comparatively to some other ones. I was kind of waiting for it to get down to this level. You could see where it came down to. It didn't give me my alert because I was actually looking to get long on this on this 6A, but I didn't get an alert or anything. So that's the worst. And I haven't looked at that chart since till now.
Dang, I got short right there, Brad, at 31.50.
Got the settle? Nice.
Yeah. Or yeah, it was 31.25. That's what I got filled at, but
Okay, so where are the levels? Where do you see AMD heading?
All right, let's see. So did it break this? So
Yeah, it
it's
just
got to
broke.
get below
It just broke through
88.
value. It just broke through value in that last 1 minute candle. And all I'm getting is put counts out of it. I mean, I had that one call count, but that may have just
85
been a
is the
fluke.
target here on AMD, I think. I mean, if it breaks 88, I could really see it running down to 85 if it starts to pick up some steam.
Well, it's 3 candles in past value low, so I'm just not seeing it getting back up unless something freaking gives it a full head of steam. But so far, it's looking like it's gonna hang out down below value low.
little bit of a bounce here. Yeah, that's just selling in front of the 88. If this thing breaks the 88, if AMD breaks the 88, I mean, it could get ugly.
Oh, it got back to value low. I guess we'll see what happens. Counts are starting to show more signs toward put.
All right, I'll just cover my long real quick on the market, and then you guys can just short it back down.
Thanks for giving us permission. That's mighty kind of you.
Well, I've just been waiting on that 23 level all morning, so I'd take my opportunity when the time struck.
Did it give you the? Did you get a good jump out of it?
Yeah, I got filled. Yeah, I got filled on 23 half and 24.
Oh, nice. So
Yeah.
you got what? 6 ticks? 7 ticks? Almost 7 ticks.
I got like 6 points. Yeah. Yeah, so I covered most on the settle on that 31 quarter, and then I've got my stop right here on the 26. If it comes back down below, I'll get out. Let a little bit, try to run it. But, I mean, it's just more of a fade than anything. Not really confident in the trade, just looking for that same bounce that we caught yesterday. And then 10 minutes until that next report comes out.
It's good when history repeats itself, but sometimes with the market, you kind of like get second guessing and go, wait, is it going to do the same thing or is it not?
Yeah.
And you start trying to play the opposite direction, which is never a good place to be.
Yeah, that happens sometimes, right? You get into a trade that you plan for, it doesn't work out, and so immediately you try to trade the other way, and then that trade goes against you, and then you start
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times I've done that.
Oh,
where I have flipped directions back and forth like 4 times.
the classic double whammy.
Within like 15 minutes, and you're like, what the hell? And then you're down like $200 and you're like, what was I thinking? Why was I chasing my tail on that? I hate that.
I've been double
Okay.
whammied more times than I can count.
AMD just broke low again.
Martin,
That's the emotion, Jared.
what language does he use for the bot? I'm not sure. What language do you use for the bot?
It depends. I mean, so here's the deal. The bot actually trades using Node, or well, let me rephrase that. The model runs using Node and JavaScript. So obviously Node is JavaScript, but there's a separate file that actually has the model in it, and that file is what I use for my back testing, my chart that I watch all day, and the actual running of the bot. So that same JavaScript file is the model that goes across all three. But the code that actually runs that model and does the actual calls for the trading, or does the high-level calls for the trading, is just Node.js. And then I have all kinds of other languages in there. I have Python, I have PHP, which is my back tester. I think that's it, actually. Those are the main 3 languages. And then obviously all the front end stuff for my charts, which is like jQuery and Google Charts and all kinds of stuff like that. There's a well, I can't even remember what it's called, Codeland. There's a Codeland channel. You can ask me any question you want in there, in the Discord, and I will answer to the best of my ability.
So we just got a lot of selling on that low, on that 23.50, and they were not able to push price below. All right, so that's pretty, I mean, my account's not that big, they should be able to fucking smash this thing down, but they're not able to. So they're having a tough time finding sellers willing to initiate at these lower prices. And so oftentimes right here, when we look below yesterday's value, if we enter back inside yesterday's value, we can kind of expect the yesterday's value area high to be the target if they don't get that reaction off that point of control, right? We got a reaction off the point of control initially to the downside. There was some selling that pushed it off. So right now, the key thing here that I'm watching is the weak spot on the profile. We can see it right here, this 514 lots, right? That's the same, almost as the same amount of contracts that traded on the low. That's basically right at value area low, sitting right around the 33 level. So a break above that 33 level, you've got to be careful to see, these shorts start to cover. Codeland, thanks for looking for an app developer. Oh yeah. I mean, the low looks weak though, to be honest. Like, I'm not saying that the low is in. It's a lot of contracts to trade on a single level and not break. Then we've got jobless claims in 5 minutes, so the market may just go mental. Counts are 40 to 91. Look at everything is pretty much flipped red. Triple Q is pushing down. Weighted AD is down. There goes the low by a tick. Come on. 19 contracts traded on that low this time. They're wondering, at least in my opinion, you've got 5 minutes until this report comes out. Do you want to be getting short at the low? Say the report comes out and it's good, which today could be a good news, bad news type of report, right? If the jobs market is still strong, obviously that's not really great for inflation, and so it could be a good news, bad news report. But if it goes down, it could be bad news, good news report, right? Because it could means what Powell is doing is working, and then you could see the market react positively to that. So, we could be seeing a little bit of people kind of scared to get short at the lows here, which is why they're not really pushing it down fast as they did initially, right? The tempo's getting a little bit slow here at the low. Morning, Tommy. So 23 again is going to be a big level today, it looks like. A lot of selling came in on that 23. They were finally able to get below it. So that's going to be kind of a key zone today. Above 23, we want to not be shorting. Well, don't be getting short like at 23 is what I'm saying, like above 23. For me. Right, that's what I'm writing down.
That's such crap right there, Brad. I literally was gotten along right at 2075 and it was at 2450 and I hit the close button and it closed my order at 2150.
That's weird. That's a weird fill.
Yeah, that's a 3-point fill.
Yeah, that's like a call to the broker. Be like, yo, you guys are fucking this up.
Yeah, well, what's this all about?
All puts are 39.63, so they're evening out a little bit. Financials are starting to tick down a little bit more. Healthcare is actually trying to come back above yesterday's close here. Everything else is still pretty weak. Everything looks fairly weak. AMD is getting below that 88 level now and starting to really go. Oh, never mind. It bounced right as I said that. But it's now that it's cracked that 88 level, this thing really could start to drop. I might look for some puts on AMD if I want to bounce.
I'm seeing pretty heavy P counts out of it. For that last candle, I had 9 P counts, which is pretty freaking high. If you start to get to double digits, then it's like game over. Typically, it should be very clear. Yeah, it's bounce. It keeps bouncing in the same candle, in the same 5-minute candle in my other chart. It's keeps bouncing to new lows.
Yeah, AMD looks like the weakest stock around
Isn't
the
the
block
Australian
here.
accent the one that does the good day just like better than no other? I mean, isn't that?
What do you say? All right, there's B period opening up. A lot of selling coming in right there on that 23 again.
Sorry, I was talking to a different channel.
Oh, whoops. So they're still offering this 23 level. You can see where that BPOC shifted down to the 26 here. Real big battle here. Poor low here, 273 contracts on the bottom. Everything looks like it wants to go down. Market's getting pretty volatile here. So jobs increased by 1 million. Consumer confidence is at 103 instead of 98. Interesting move here, to be honest. Like, I mean, that poor low, and this thing's really just kind of jumping up. A lot of selling coming in right there on that 27. 27 half to 26 half, basically. They need to shove this thing back down below 23 if they want to get any downside. Morning, Patrick. Yeah, definitely got a bounce. AMD got a little bit of a bounce up, 87.69 now. Was the low, but it's back above the 88 level. Seeing the triple Q try to catch a little bit of a bounce here on the low. Dollar's really getting some gas as well. But oil's going down, down, down. Apple's still trying to get back above yesterday's close here. Back to this 23 level. Pretty choppy right now, to be honest. Yeah, Microsoft is looking to, well, Microsoft is red. Not sure, where's Microsoft at? Oh, from yesterday's close, it's red. A lot of things are sitting right at their close from yesterday. Oh, excuse me. Microsoft flipped down 0.2. So it looks like they still held pretty decently, right? So B period came up, got above that 28, but didn't reclaim the settle. And remember, we're watching that 33-ish level. That's that value area low. Looks like they're still got some downside in them here. Watch for that next level down would be that 41.17, only 3 points lower, but that would be the target for these sellers to try to push this thing down. Got 52 contracts on the low here. Dollar's skying here too. So there's the break of previous day's low. Watch the 50 SMA. You may see a small reaction off of that level. Boom. Oops. Sometimes it just like runs away. Trying to find this level below, see where it's at. Switch this. Take a peek at the daily. Dollar's really gassing here pretty heavily. Well, this is showing hours. So this next excess, this previous excess seems like the target down here, this 39.18 level. I know that's pretty far down, you know, but that kind of seems like that would be, you know, that would be kind of the move to the downside. And if we look, this is that last FOMC meeting down here at 39.71 may act, 39.08, and then we've got these single prints down here still from this move around to this level here. So there's still there's room here to the downside. And AMD is really picking up some steam to the downside. I like it, I like it. We just broke below yesterday's Globex low as well. Let me put this up. God damn it, I don't know what that just did. So this is yesterday's Globex low. I just added it to the chart. We just broke below it. So that's where you're seeing some response here. And the 50 SMA is right there as well. So, you know, you may see a bit of a bounce. So we don't want to be getting short here. We just want to be paying attention at some some opportunities. And there's that the SPY just came down to 400, which is a pretty big level on the SPY. I know, you know, we didn't hit the 4,000 here on the ES. They're not exact, but it's at 4,007 level, or 407 level. That's a big put wall on the SPY here. Damn, I should have held that Pepsi put, I guess. Mark, what's up, man? IT sector has doubled. It's down. It was 0.7, now it's 136. Yeah, the NYSE is down 3%. So I mean, the key here today, if we're going to continue to get downside, and right, it's tough to get short at the lows, like I said, right? We really didn't want to be shorting right above that 23, so break of that 23, that was kind of the move there, and that's where the impulse came from. So that's a level we need to watch today, is that 23. But the key here for me, at least, is if we start to see tech get really red, we could see some bigger moves down. If we take a peek here, and this just kind of has all of our bigger tech names here, so we can see Apple's previous low is still a higher low, but it's looking to get down there. Same thing with Amazon, right? If Amazon breaks that low, you'll see, I mean, you'll see some big moves. Same thing with Google. Meta's already going low. It always looks like shit. Tesla still kind of flirting with the low. Like we said, AMD looks the weakest out of the bunch. The Dow's breaking the low. SPY broke the low, and Triple Q broke the low. So you've got three of the bigger names here just waiting to break that previous low. And if they do, this thing could really start to get ugly, and we could start to see a reminder of Friday. Market not responding, positive consumer confidence. Yeah, like I said, it's like a good news, bad news situation, right? You got a increase in jobs and an increase in consumer confidence. That's kind of means, you know, that what Powell is doing is not necessarily working, and the market's not a huge fan of that. Yeah, the USD rallied hard here. You got 359 contracts sitting on the 00 down here at the 4,000. Pretty decent move up here off the lows. Some big buy orders coming through at the 10, 50, 105. So probably some short covering there. 10 at the 1050, 105 lots. So let's watch this 1050 level here. Still no call counts. Back below that 50 SMA. Watch this 1050 level here. This looks like where a lot of shorts covered last time. If it pops above this, you'll look to try to see, you know, maybe some of these weak spots start to fill in. This is starting to look like people are covering shorts down here. Watch these weak spots. Ultimately, we'd like to see it, you know, I'd like to see it rally to 23 and we could short it again. Still offering this 10 to 9 level here pretty decently though. Just tough to get short at the lows. Yeah, watch this 1050 level. That looks like the level that it's got to stay below now, or else you might see a bit of a bounce. Dollar's still trying to climb here. $456 contracts on that low, so a lot of selling coming in on that low here. I'd like to see it stay below this Globex low if we're going to keep going. Volume coming in. Notice where we're just sticking right there. So a lot of volume just came in on the 6. Volume stuck, or the price stuck, and then it bounced right back up. So failure to get back below that 6 tells us that we got some people selling the low and they're trapped. They need to get this thing back below the low to get continuation here. So if you're short, you know, I mean, 1050 would be the widest I would be keeping my stop here. They're right back to it here. Let's see if they can get it this time. There we go. Volume's in. Nice, come on. This is just, it looks like rotation in other stocks here. Like, I mean, the selling is still going. It's just, you know, you got to take a breath of selling sometimes. You can see the tick is basically getting right at that 0 level, so people are just not selling as much right here down at the low. Still looks pretty decent though. Weak bitches. Watch this tick, right? So there's a lot of buying going in. It looks like a lot of upticks, which to me is just kind of telling us people are rotating right here, right? So they've got to take some profit at some point, and so they're going to buy back some of their shares, and this thing's going to bounce. The key here is that we're not really getting much of a bounce, and watch this 1050 level. As long as we stay below this 1050 level, we should be still decent. I'm noticing that the reactive trader waiting for the bounces and reversals, I think that makes an easier target for larger traders. Now I need to figure out how to fix that. So I'm noticing that I'm a reactive trader waiting for bounces and reversals. I think that makes it easier target for larger traders. Now I need to figure out how to fix it. So there's nothing wrong with being a reactive trader. The difference is if you're going to be a reactive trader, you need to be able or willing to take profit quick, right? So if you're going to be a reactive trader, you've got to be willing to get in and out of a position quick. There's nothing wrong with that. Like Jim Dalton calls them anchor traders, right? There's nothing wrong with being an anchor trader and trading off of mechanical references. He just doesn't do it, and sometimes he bashes on it or whatever. But I've heard him say that there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that not something that he does, and because of how quick you have to be in it, it makes it a little bit more difficult. But I mean, it's like a scalper. You know what I mean? Like these scalpers are not here looking to buy a low and sell a high. They're looking to buy a level and then take a couple of ticks, and then the same thing again. Do that again. Boom. Take a couple of ticks. Take a couple of ticks. So you don't need to necessarily fix yourself. What you want to do is just understand that if that's what you're good at identifying, like let's say you're getting into trades and they're going in profit right away, but not a lot, but they're going into profit early, and then they go negative. Well, that's telling you right there, like those trades are fast trades, and you've got to be willing to get in and get out of those. Counts are 1 and 109, so put heavy. Yeah, AMD's coming down hard, leading the way. SPY's coming back down to that 400 level. What do we got? 8 minutes until the next period opens up. If DXY goes up, then BIDI go down. Yeah, Bitcoin's getting a little. I mean, I don't know. Bitcoin's not really getting smacked as hard as the market is. Hasn't broken its yesterday's low. Sitting right at 20,000. 20,000's been like a magnet for Bitcoin. The dollar's gassing though still. Oil's getting smacked though, so dollar's going up and oil's getting smacked. Mixed signals here from the market. A lot of selling down here at these lows. It's gotta break. There it goes. Jesus. Finally. Almost thought we were never gonna get it.
Dude, I won't lie. That was the shittiest trade on my part.
What?
Oh, I don't want to talk about it. I was like $50 away from my goal. And man, I got long right at the 20 and was in that trade the whole time.
Damn. What'd you close?
Oh yeah.
Did you close it?
Yeah, I had to. Yeah.
Oof.
Oof.
20
Oof is
20.0 is that's a.
Okay.
I just texted you back, Colin.
Okay, cool.
I didn't tell them to get ready. I just saw your text. Sorry.
That's okay. And I just said, can I come in?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just let myself.
1 second, guys. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry, guys. What are we seeing here? So a little weak spot on the profile at 475. I'm just smashing the button out of anger here.
Morning, everybody.
What's up, Dad? So back above that 405, this is where we saw all that selling come in. So this is real similar to that 23 level here. So if the market is going to continue down, it's going to have to stay below this level. What is interesting here is that we haven't seen the VPOC shift down. So, I mean, a couple of thousand more contracts will probably see it. The tick actually closed above the, oh no, it didn't. It closed right at the 0 line, still below it though, but we're starting to see the tick up here. The breadth is not really strong. I mean, yeah, we're seeing some selling, but for the market to turn really into a trend day, I mean, it looks like we're going to get some single prints here with 3 minutes left, but for the market to really start to trend, it's going to be tough with the breadth not really strong. Like I said, it looks like rotation, right? A lot of people are kind of rotating out. They've got to take some profit at some point, and what better spot to take it than at the low? And so now for me, after we broke that 5, I closed everything I had. I'm going to sit flat. I probably won't trade until we see the market either get back below that 5 and start to see some volume come in, or the retest of that 23 and start to see that 23 get offered a little bit. That would kind of give me a little bit of confidence as far as another spot to get reoffered. We'll see how these single prints act. Naturally, we might be able to make a play off some single prints. Put counts are climbing slowly, 10 to 113. Ace, good morning. Glad you guys are still online. Wait for the market to come to you. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is like, and I'll be honest, I forced that trade at the lows. I really didn't want to take it. It's just the low looked so weak, and we popped back up, didn't get above that 1050 level. I think we popped up what it was like. It was maybe just right below that 1050 level, didn't really break it. So I just, kind of forced my way in, and then was just targeting that low and covered everything as soon as it broke. So I didn't catch it all the way down to the bottom. But it's just, it's tough to, even if I am assuming that it's going to continue, it's tough really to get short here and hold. There's a lot of liquidity on that 4,000 level. And I mean, look at the sectors. Overall, everything looks weak. The breadth is starting to pick up again here. Back at that 5 level. 3.4 on the NYSE. So the breadth is picking up here a little bit. Dollar's cooling a little bit. What's up, Dr. VJ? Spicy breakdown this morning. Yeah. A lot of volume coming in down here. We've got 15 seconds until C period opens up, so let's just be patient. Wait for C period to open up. Let's see how these singles act, and we'll take it from there. C period is open. Opens pretty much right on this 5 level. Little short covering right off the bat. Watch the 1050. Short, oh, this is just looks like short covering to me. Little bounce in Tesla. Apple actually kind of got down into that gap, so this is an area where we were looking for. The fuck's Apple at? Remember we talked about this. That gap high was at 159.5. Apple's at 159.72. Yeah, AMD's just making another low. Look at the breadth now, 4-1. So still picking up. Missed that. I missed that second chance to reoffer there. Hey Nora, how you doing, buddy? Ooh, a lot of selling down there at that low 4,000. All right, see you later, Nora. Bye. Microsoft's down 0.8, Apple's down 1%. I'm looking for Apple to get in this gap. This is an area that we've talked about inside this gap to see responsive buyers on Apple and a possible opportunity to hit a little swing trade on Apple. A long swing trade. We expect maybe some responsive buying down in this area on Apple. Breadth is getting really strong here now. So now we're talking trend day to the downside here, right? 6-1. That's what we want to see if we're going to keep getting this trend. Tick's getting below 1,000, so there's a lot of selling coming in here. Look at the triple Q getting close to its 300 level as well. Go into these single prints here. See if I can fill these single prints here. Some weak spots here in the profile. That right below that 4,000 we saw just liquidation, pure liquidation. Looks good. That low looks a little bit mechanical there. There we go, it gets fixed. Apple's breaking down into that gap. AMD is almost at 86. AMD puts are working hard right here. They're looking to go down to 85 is what they're looking for. Almost back to that old FOMC level here. You see that 39.78 level. That was the last time Powell came on. I think that was the, was it the minutes or something? Jake is just getting smashed. Oh. May see a bit of a bounce if the triple Q hits his 300, right? And I may try to start. Let me try to look for a possible Apple call.
Hey, Brad.
What's up, man?
You know when you have like a big move down like this early, a lot of the time, obviously, you're not gonna have so far down in your levels. What do? Do you just start again with your plan, or?
Yeah, I mean, I just use the levels off the intraday. So like, yeah, so because basically we've already taken out like pretty much all the levels from the plan, and so
Right.
now the levels that I'm watching here that are going to be key, I think, are going to be this 4,000 level naturally, just because it's a very psychological number. That 41050, and then this 4023. You guys leaving? Okay. Okay. Bye. You want a hug? Oh, okay.
No, she did though.
You good? Sorry, Tommy, but yeah, so like,
Good with me.
basically, I'm just, you know, this is why I don't delete a lot of old levels from my charts, is because I just play off those levels as targets, and then and look for it. The bot is out. The bot sold.
So then you're just more or less going with the market, like you'll use things like if it happens like the singles and just previous levels like the 4,000 where you saw we broke from
Right. Exactly.
the days that are, the levels that are built throughout the session, yeah, rather than looking at previous stuff so much.
Right. All right. See you, Colin. Right, because that's pretty much all we have. You know what I mean? Like that. There's not
Yeah.
really. Because these levels, like if we pop up the daily real quick, you know, yeah, they may act as some support. Daily. Oh, fuck. We may see them act as some support, but they're so old, you know, it's so hard to trust them on a bigger scale. Like, so for me, like, it's tough to really just be like, okay, well, we're gonna short down to this excess. This is an area where down here I kind of flip to buyer, right? So, you know, I'll try to just trade it down incrementally, like, you know, being patient, waiting for it to come up to certain levels, pop the short, right, as the singles don't fill. You know,
So just more getting on board with the trend as opposed to
exactly. And then the key is to, for me, is to notice where we have excess. And so as we get down here, even if we are trending down, right, which today obviously we are, you
you're
know,
looking as if a buyer's going to come in further down there where they did before.
right. I get a little bit more nervous as we get down into that level, because I don't want to be I don't want to get too aggressive into an area where we've seen buying before. And there's still, I mean, we still have this gap way down here at 38, but
And when it comes down like emotionally like this, right? If you're a buyer there, you're not going to just be jumping in, are you? You're going to wait and see what happens as it comes down here.
Yeah, for us, because we're intraday traders, yeah.
Yeah.
But whereas, you know, if you're a longer term buyer, you're probably buying like, you know, you probably have like certain tickets here that are just like, okay, if it gets
Sitting.
here, I'm gonna
Cool.
buy 500 contracts here. I'm gonna buy 500, yeah. And so if we start to see, you know, some big volume start to come, and then the tempo starts to slow, especially around this level, then we've got to be like, okay, now I got to be careful
They're
with my
still there kind of
shorts,
thing, right?
right? Because if you figure the selling today mostly so far, it looks like to me it looks like mostly liquidation, and you've got mechanical selling off the 50 SMA, right? Which is, you know, maybe technical traders, but most of the time mechanical. I think so. A bit of weak-handed traders are baked into that. And then we had a bit of weak-handed traders buying the 50 SMA as well, thinking that it's going to act as support. So this to me is a weak spot. This 407.75. So if it's the market,
So did they use their buyers basically to flush it down a bit more?
right? I think so. And
Okay.
and now we're back below that 4,000. And so we know we have a responsive seller up here, and then a responsive seller, I would say, even in this entire range right here. Let me go back to so
From the initial move, like the initial big move down.
right, this low of this previous balance, so like the 41.20 all the way down until yesterday's high, that 40.68 or 40.80.50 is really the key level that I'm looking for. And so what about using fibs for levels? You could, like, if we drew a fib from here,
I think the 50 is like right in between that balance.
here. So the next level down would be that 39.54 on a fib if you're going from swing high to swing low. I mean, I don't really use them, but it's basically right at this low here, so 53. So that, I mean, that would be a decent target for them to get down, because that puts us into that kind of excess day there. But so what I was saying is we know there's that responsive seller sitting up here and then sitting up here, and we assume that there's probably a responsive buyer sitting down here. And so in this area here is kind of giving us a little bit of, you know, we've got to be kind of nervous on all of our trades, or at least I am when I'm taking the trades inside these zones. I don't tend to stick with them for a long time, especially as they get closer to the zone, right? I'm not really looking for longs up here at the highs, not really looking for shorts down here at the lows, because this is where you see a lot of people get trapped. And a lot of times it gives you that, you know, that little or the same thing on the upside, it gives a little pop like we saw on Friday, right? Friday rallied high, everyone thought it was going to go, and then it puked. So just something to be cautious of, I guess. And yeah, I mean, long story short, I know it took forever to answer the question. I really am just kind of looking to be patient with the day like this, because it's going to be easy to get caught. It's going to be easy to get caught on both sides, right? Like, you know, you definitely don't want to fight the trend, which today definitely is happening. We're trending down, but we also
Get some fast pullbacks, right, with liquidation coming back up.
right, yeah, we also want to be
Short
patient
cover.
and wait for those reoffer levels.
So just one more question. So today, for example, with the volume, so you see we had the single prints, and then we've broken down to where C high is and put in some volume there. Do you think that's the short trader at the top there closing some of their position out there rather than?
I think this is yeah, I think it was a lot of short covering, like, because this is right at that C opened. I think we got a lot of people buying the 50 SMA, right? And you had a lot of people covering shorts below the 50 SMA because that was probably part of their trade plan. So it bounced, and then as that little bounce came, especially when C period opened and kind of went up, you probably saw a lot of people, that are trend fighters that are like, this is the bottom, I'm gonna nail the bottom, and then just get fucking, just get stuck. And the seller took profit right here, right? Mostly took profit from here to here, and then re-shorted at this level.
Got you. Thank you.
But I still am cautious, and this is going to be a level that I'll carry forward for sure, just because I think it's a weak. I think it might be a weak spot. Should the market revisit it, I don't think it's going to act as resistance as strongly as this 23 level did. But we're really starting to go. Where's volume at? Volume's at 1% more than yesterday, so not a crazy amount of volume here, but definitely more than the previous day. Waiting to see a little bit of buying in Apple, and then I'm going to try to snag a call. I'll just be a slow build, and I'm going to get some time with these Apple calls, but there might be an opportunity for some pop now that Apple's getting back into a gap. Even the breath on the Nasdaq's picking up here pretty heavy, 3-1 on the Nasdaq. I mean, this thing is just getting smacked. AMD's almost down to 85. I'm gonna close my AMD puts at 85 no matter what.
You're -9 now on the ES. Breath.
Oh yeah, and then when I see, damn, yeah. Look at the VIX is just getting, the VIX is on a skyward movement. The dollar is just skying here. Fucking oil just not skying, bro. On oil, what are you doing? I did read something like some German energy company is like preparing fairly well for some energy something for like basically for like the winter that's coming in Europe. He said, "Nice accent. Is that LEG?" Racist. I'll be right back. Yeah, bot kicked ass. Yeah.
Dang, Brad, you totally called it. It got into the 85 range. I think it's 85.60 right now. We'll see where it does a ranging.
Yeah, I'm trying to hold on to these AMD puts, but I'm wondering if maybe I should just cover them now.
Well, for me, only because the bot got out is usually that sign when, and I'm not saying it always hits bottom, but it definitely comes close for the most part. I mean, for the past 2 weeks, when the bot gets out, it usually either starts ranging and just goes somewhat flat or very, very minimal range after it hits, or it actually does a reversal, which I don't remember. I mean, it did a reversal 2 or 3 times, but the ranging seems to be more like it hits that point and then it just sort of fluctuates and doesn't really get any big movements in either direction.
You're
But I'm
finding
still
your...
seeing it.
Oh,
I mean, there's
good.
still put counts coming in, so I don't know. AMD has hit a new low. Yeah, it just hit a new low in this candle. It's hit a new low every single candle for the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, for the last 8 candles, every single 5-minute candle that hits, it's hitting a new low. So, I mean, there's a lot to be said for trending.
Yeah. And that's the most dangerous day. I mean, the most dangerous thing, or the biggest issues a lot of people have is when they fight that trend day.
Well, I've done it many times. Jared and I, we do our shorts all the freaking time. Well, I used to. Now I let the bot do it for me. Oh, that candle just got a jump.
Pop said, finding yourself looking for a good long entry and kicking myself right now because there's no evidence anywhere right now for a long. Yeah, not really. I mean, it's always nice to like be like, oh, catch a nice responsive long. But the thing is, like, so if you're taking a long at the low, a fade trade is what they would call it. I'm just kidding, Ace. I know you're not racist, bro. I'm just kidding. I was just making a joke. I just like to say that. It's just like a, you know, just a joke. But you know, you're looking for this nice fade trade, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But you just got to make sure that if you do fade a trending market, it's got to be quick, right? So if you find yourself in those you know, that's your way of thinking, like, oh, well, this thing's down, it's got to bounce, can't just go down forever, right? That's a fact. I mean, we're seeing a pretty decent bounce. We're 10 handles off the lows here.
Dang. Yeah, AMD it basically just took out the last 2 candles
Oh, on a 5.
in a minute and a half. No, 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, it took out the last 2 5-minute candles. And it's freaking vying for the third. So
But so
yeah, I think
Pop, what would give you a little bit more confidence in, you know, in looking for a long is look for it to get above either, you know, some the previous high, which would give you that cessation of one time frame. We've got 8 minutes until D period opens up, or look for it to get back to, you know, some volume and see how it acts there, right? Remember, the key here is don't look for the trade, right? Look at the market and ask yourself, what is the market doing, right? And then where would be a good spot to enter the market to do what the market is doing or what the market is trying to do, right? And right now the market is going down, right? You're catching a bit of a bounce here, but for the most part the market is going down. So where would be a decent spot for you to enter in this slide that we're seeing with your, you know, your fucking burlap sack? You know, probably around that 39.86 level looks like a decent spot to possibly jump on the short train there.
and if you ask yourself, what is the market doing? And the answer is it's losing me money, it's time to get out for the day.
Time will, if there's a big seller, will they step down before we get up to that volume and try and step into this thin area?
Yeah, like, so basically right now is what I'm kind of keying in on is if we're going to get some backing and filling. I still think that we might break up above that 39.86, just because, I mean, this is kind of a relatively large bounce, and you can see the strength in the buying because of the tick, right? Like, you see the previous tick bar, there was almost no buying in it. It didn't even get close to the zero. This one actually cracked the zero, so there is some buying going on right here, and it's just kind of just making me at least cautious, thinking, okay, well, if there is actual buying and then we start to see some sellers start buying back their positions, this thing could really start to bounce. So, and the profile, I mean, above, we've just got, you know, really weak levels. And so I'd like to see, to get short, honestly, I'd like to see us break above this volume and start to get all these weak-handed traders piling in that you know, should have probably longed the lows, but they start like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go here, and then we'll see, you know, these sellers move down and start to backfill some of these areas, and then the gives us a target basically, or get like, so if we're able to get short around here, right around this 4,000 level, we can target this 3986 level, right? Because if we just short here, right, our stop, you know, where can it go? Honestly, it's going to be tough, right? Where if we short here, we can either put our stop up here around the 50 SMA, so give ourselves about 8 points of room, which today you're going to have a wider stop, trade lower size, have a wider stop today, and target these lows. But if you're short here, you know, it's like, okay, well, I could run my stop here, this is where the volume's at, but then you could still get stopped out. It could trade up just a couple more points and then come back down, and that's just going to frustrate you. So for me, I just tend to be a bit more patient.
Reaction in the thin area, right?
Right. Just wait for it to come, and if it doesn't come up to the level to get short, well then, you know, then you miss the trade. That's just, you know, if I had a nickel for every trade I missed, I'd be, you know, probably make more money than I do trading. I think we have a speaker today as well. Investing. Let me see. We've got Dallas Fed. No, those are already out. Yeah, Williams. Fed Williams is in 3 minutes as well.
Well, it looks like it's at the very least headed not down as much anymore, or at least not for AMD. I guess same thing. ES is kind of in there.
Yeah, I've got. Yeah, fuck.
Did you get out of your AMDs?
No, not yet. I mean, they're still up pretty good, but I didn't close them yet. I really wanted that 85 flat, motherfucker.
Oh, dude.
I know.
Are you held to try and get to 85 flat?
Greedy. I was gonna close them right at 86 too, and didn't. I might just fucking.
Well, if you're up, dude, just get out.
Never. I'm just kidding. I'm just gonna spread. I'm gonna spread them. I think I'm gonna spread them.
Are they weeklies?
Yeah, they're weeklies. They expire on Friday.
So you're gonna get
More
out of
reckless with the options, Brad.
Yeah, I use my options to get the gambling out of my system. So like, I save up some money, I put it aside, and then that's my options money for the week. And you know, if I lose it, I lose it, and it doesn't really like affect me, you know, and it doesn't affect like my income. So I'm not really too worried about it.
Yeah, that's what paper trade is for me nowadays. I let the bot take all the risk, and then I just paper trade whenever I was like, hey, I have an idea, and then I jump in a paper trade and run it. And typically I make money, but still. Usually it's wild. Well, not wild, but like it's long shots, semi-long shots.
Like Uncle Stuart, he's like,
yeah,
I made $10,000 today.
Like,
he's like, traded 800 contracts. I'm like, Jesus.
I was like, in freaking 2 trades, right?
Yeah.
He's got a crazy sense of humor. I'm sitting there and I'm asking him, how's that viable? How are you, is that how you're going to actually play it? He's like, yeah, that's I could do that. I'm fine with that.
He must not just be watching. He's gonna close his eyes. Yeah, coming up on that 86 level here. Let's see if we get a reaction. And D period's opening up in 30 seconds here too.
Close your eyes and short.
Oh, my bookshelf comes today. All right, so let's see what D period does here. Like I said, I don't really, I mean, I'm gonna miss it. It looks like, but I didn't really like this spot to get short. You're watching the 94 and the 4000 roach? Yeah, I like that 94 level too.
Why don't you like that spot to get short? Because before you said something, I was seeing the volume right there. And then the C half back is kind of a support level for a short.
The reason I don't like it is because of how far off the low it is.
Okay.
Like if it was, you know, maybe like right here, the 76 level, that would have been a better, if all this volume was down here, I would have liked that level. But I mean, we kind of saw the market, so this is 86 and we traded down to 68, so almost 20 points lower, but volume didn't move down. And we spent some time down here. Volume moved down a little bit here and a little bit here, but I mean, all this volume was from C period for the most part, right? D period traded there like 2 seconds now, but
yeah,
you know, that's a long ways off the low. If we get back down below it, then there's going to be opportunity, because then we can hide behind it as we get back down below it. At 94 level, Roach, good call. That's things dead on. But yeah, so like, because of how far it came back, I'm just not a huge fan of it right off the bat. Yeah, 86 is coming up. I'm gonna spread these puts, I think. The breath is getting a little bit weak here too. Look at the breath is only 5-1. Dollar's starting to come back down too. The euro's climbing. Oh no, the euro's just barely. No, the euro's not doing shit.
Make jokes, Brad.
I just saw that
It's not climbing anywhere, mate. We know that.
I saw that it was like right here. It's basically flat. I'm like, what the fuck? See, and so right here, as we're coming back down to that volume, you know, we're not seeing the continuation that we would like to see, right? We'd like to see the volume, we'd like to see price move lower and then volume start to pour in below, right? We'd like to start seeing some of these turn white somewhere down here. And we're starting to see, well, this is the VPOC now, so the VPOC has shifted all the way down to the bottom. And so now that price is above it, it really just frustrates me as far as wanting to get short. Especially we've got this huge kind of range of C period and we're right in the middle of it, and D period is right inside. Similar to how we had yesterday, right? D period for the most part after C period moved lower. Make this a little bit bigger. I mean, it's almost identical to yesterday. we saw C period move lower and then D period just kind of balanced inside of it, and then the market moved up after. Not saying that, you know, it's going to be the exact same as yesterday, but with that point of control moving down like that, I want to see price hang on below it. I'd like to start seeing some volume come in below it to give us that continuation to the downside. Yeah, it just broke the 86. I think I'm going to cover him. Could make him free. Oh, we got the Fed speaker on too. Yeah, I'll probably chop around now. Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't. Yeah, that's why I don't like that low. Let me see if I can find this Fed speaker and we could listen to him for a little bit. Five. Fed. What's his name? It's not it. Oh, you know who has him on? Guaranteed is Josh. Let me find Josh's channel.
Economy that's creating inflation or contributing to inflationary pressures. So looking back, you know, it was really about getting monetary policy more to a position that's, you know, will slow demand enough to equal supply.
This is the trading fraternity. We're watching the trading fraternity's channel because Josh always has the news on the best. Always watching it through Wall Street Journal.
Setting a policy is, but again, like, it's really on the totality of all the data.
So I'm going to work in audience questions here. Tim asks, what is the cost of raising rates 75 basis points relative to 50 when the Fed projects that well more than another 75 basis point of rate hikes is needed to bring inflation under control?
Well, I think the question is framing the issue well, in the sense that we really do have to think not just about one meeting, but where do we want to see interest rates, you know, by the end of the year and into next year. And so that's how I think about it too. If based on the data, it's clear that we need to get interest rates, you know, significantly higher by the end of the year, then obviously that informs a decision about at any given meeting. In terms of the costs and benefits, I think it's really about getting monetary policy in the right place, making sure that we're creating conditions such that demand is more in line with supply. We always have.
I just closed the AMD puts completely. I was going to cover them, but it just closed them.
The policy actions as well. So it's not like you make one decision once and for all, but you really think about the path of policy. So I think that you know will really depend on how strong the labor market is, what we're seeing in inflation, getting that, you know, making that decision, and then thinking, well, obviously, what do we do next time and the time after.
So that's fair. A lot of these questions that you get are about tactics. Monetary policy has to be forward-looking. So I am wondering about the destination, the terminal rate, as it's sometimes said. In June, you said in an interview, we are far from where we need to be. Do you still feel that way based on the outlook right now? How high do you think interest rates might have to rise here to get the job done on inflation?
Well, my first answer is going to be it depends. It depends on the data. But here's how I think about it. I do think with demand far exceeding supply, we do need to get real interest rates. That's the interest rate adjusted for inflation above zero. We need to have a somewhat restrictive policy to slow demand, and we're not there yet. So if you think about next year, if inflation is say somewhere between 2.5% and 3%, a lot lower than now, but that's kind of a forecast that I think is reasonable. You're thinking about having interest rates that are well above that, because it's the interest rate minus the inflation rate tells you what the real interest rate is. So we're so quite a ways from that. And I think that, to me, that's one of the benchmarks. If we need to get the interest rate relative to where inflation is expected to be over the next year into a positive space, and probably even higher than the longer run neutral level, which I think is around a 0.5% on real interest rates.
So before we get into that, can you explain why is it that the real rate is what matters for the setting of interest rate policy?
Well, I think actually nominal interest rates, the actual interest rates do matter. If you're paying a mortgage, you're looking at your monthly payments, whether you can get approved for a mortgage depends on your ability to pay every month a mortgage rate, which is affected by the interest rate. But I think economics and experience teaches us that you have to think about, well, what's the interest rate relative to inflation? So say you're a business and the inflation rate means that you're able to sell your products at every year, but 3%, or higher prices each year. Then that cost of them, in a sense of paying back the original loan is lower because you have more and more revenue. Similarly, when you're working, if you have inflation of 2% or 3%, you see that your income goes up over time and your ability to pay a given interest rate is easier. So we really want to think about is the interest rate adjusted in a way for the fact that
Look at all the volume coming in right here, 39.90.
So you've done a lot of work in
the longer we stay above it, the more
estimating
dangerous
the
a short
real
covering rally
rate that is likely
becomes.
over the long run. We often talk about a corresponding nominal neutral rate that assumes inflation is 2%. Assuming that the real rate is still positive, does that mean you want to see interest rates rise above the rate of inflation to provide restraint to the economy?
So when you look at the analysis we've done about what this long-run neutral interest rate is, it's always in terms of a real interest rate for the reasons we just discussed. And again, a typical estimate of that is, say, something like 0.5%. And so if you add 2% inflation, that would be the 2.5 that you see discussed as a longer run, neutral nominal interest rate, because the Fed's target is to have 2% inflation in the longer run. So the way I think about it, in our economic analysis tends to support this is basically where's the federal funds rate less the inflation rates they expected over the next year. So to me, a real interest rate has to be forward looking in that way. So if you look at market participants, I mean, that's how I think they think about holding a bond. What is going to happen to inflation over the time period that I hold that bond?
Pretty decent move down.
Or have a loan. So to me, it's basically the Fed funds rate less, say, the inflation expected over the next year.
So you said earlier you think inflation could get down to 2.5–3% by the end of next year.
Mm-hmm.
That if there's a positive real rate of 0.5%, that suggests that a nominal neutral rate might be 3–3.5%. Are you saying that you would need to go above 3.5% to provide restraint to this economy?
I'm going to give the same answer before. It depends on what happens in the data, and I think you have to consider what's happening with inflation, what's happening with the economy. But I think that my baseline kind of view would be, yes, you do need to get a little bit or somewhat above that, because you're trying to get not just to neutral in a real interest rate sense, but you're actually trying to get get demand in line with supply. And my hope is that the supply side of the economy over the next few years also improves as some of the bottlenecks and other constraints in the U.S. economy and the global economy ease over time. But it's really about getting supply and demand in balance, getting inflationary pressures down so we get back to our 2% inflation.
I hear Fed officials talk a lot about the desire to see financial conditions tighten. What are you looking to see progress there? Are you pleased with the progress that you've seen so far over the past few months? And what is the primary metric you follow to see if market participants, after all, that is the transmission mechanism for monetary policy, are getting the message?
Your point is absolutely right. I mean, no one actually buys or sells anything in the federal funds rate, which is the target interest rate that we set. It's really about the broader financial conditions. So you look at bond rates, you look at credit spreads, you look at equity markets, you look at all types of financial pricing and conditions when you're thinking about that, because monetary policy works by affecting financial conditions in a wide set of markets. So I do tend to look at some of these financial conditions indexes. There's a number of them constructed in different ways, but they basically try to aggregate what's happening in the various markets to give you a summary statistic of how financial conditions have evolved. And so again, to your original question, when I look at those, which kind of aggregate all the different aspects of it, not one or the other, they have tightened quite a bit since the beginning of the year. in line with what I think what we're trying to achieve in terms of monetary policy of bringing financial conditions tighter, helping bring demand and supply in balance, and bring inflation down. So I'm not sure it's about being pleased or not. I do think that the tightening of financial conditions is consistent with the direction that I see us in on monetary policy, taking on monetary policy.
So to bring in a reader question here, Kia asks, does the 10-year Treasury yield need to go up for financial conditions to tighten if most everything meaningful in the economy is priced on the 10-year yield? And if we keep getting a deeper yield curve inversion, wouldn't that loosen the financial conditions since it lowers the 10-year yield relative to other tenors?
Right. Well, this question is really gets to the fact that any asset price or bond yield or equity price or something like that reflects a lot of different conditions. It reflects where people expect the economy to go, where they expect interest rates to go, and also the amount of risk that they associate with those, or uncertainty around those. So it is harder to just look at one asset price or another and say, well, this must mean that or must mean something else. So I do think, from my perspective, I tend to kind of go back to start from where monetary policy is. Where are our market expectations of the Fed funds rate? How does that relate to the bond market? And then how does that spill
that's
over
true.
more broadly into financial conditions? So because there's so many reasons.
All right, he's not really saying anything that's moving the market, so there's no reason to just keep listening to him. He's just talking in circles for the most part. The key here, like Roach was saying, is that 90 level. So watch this 90 level. A lot of volume came in at that 90 level, then the market got a little bit of a flush, and the tick came down. The tick got a little bit oversold, and then we're seeing a little bit of move off that low. Now we're starting to see our first real half pipe start to form down here. It's a tight one, but if they can hold it back on the backside of this 86 level, there's definitely more opportunity to push this thing down. D period still remains inside C period, so balancing for the most part. Let's see on this retest of the 90 if we're going to see some more selling come in. Watch this level here, 92. That looks like the key level, 92. Notice how light the volume is right here on this 92 level. The market looks like it wants to go back up to the VWAP, which is at 4,003. You just pop that 92 like it wasn't even there. We didn't even trade that many contracts on it. Ace. I hope you didn't get all pissed. He said, "Good day, sir." I was just making a joke. The C low is halfway point of the whole move. The whole move up. Like from that swing low in June. Yeah, pretty much right on it. I don't know. It's a because it wasn't you, Ace. There's a Ace on YouTube. So there's two of us. Ace. There's two of us in Goose. I still gotta watch that new Top Gun movie. I haven't seen it. I gotta go to the fucking DMV again today too. Dude, getting a Pennsylvania driver's license is basically like you gotta give a fucking blood sample, dude. It's like, Jesus Christ, what do you guys want from me? That Ace guy is a troll. Is he? I've never. I mean, he's been in the chat a couple of times, I think. Never said anything. I mean, he said nice accent. Is that G Alley? Going to grab a tea. Yeah, figures. You drink coffee like a man. See, the thing is, like, I don't mind tea, like, if it has cream and sugar in it, but then that kind of just, like, defeats the purpose, you know? Then it's like, fuck, well, I might as well just drink an energy drink if I'm gonna do that. That's why I like these Celsius drinks, because there's not much in them besides, you know, caffeine. Where's the ingredients? You always know what's in there by the first thing listed. Carbonated filtered water. Vegetable juice for color. Ooh, big little flush right there off of that 98. A big little flush. Back down to that 390 level. Kind of looks like a check below there. Thought I really liked coffee. Turned out I just really liked cream and sugar. Yeah, that's how I am. Yeah. My sister's wife, she fucking she drinks coffee black like a fucking animal. But she was like a military CID agent. Like basically like a detective for the army.
You mean your wife's sister?
That's what I said.
You said your sister's wife.
Oh. Just make fun of me. I have dyslexia. Here we go. Like my coffee, like myself. White and sweet. Roach, I highly doubt that you're sweet. You're a concrete worker. Some looks like some buyers are stepping up here. That's why it's funny. Look at the, oh, let me break. I'm just over here sitting staring at a fucking daily chart. Sorry guys. Look at the triple Q here, bouncing right off of that 300 put wall level. If it gets below the 300 level and stays, you're gonna start to see some damage. It'll be kind of how AMD, right? AMD's level was that 88 today. It got below that 88 and then just started to puke, and now it's gaining a little bit of off of that 86. But if it gets below 85, there's be some real steam to push down on AMD. This is how they're gonna kill premium here. Another day with D period not doing anything. Fed Bostic saying and slowing inflation data may give us a reason to slow rate hikes. That's bullish. The Fed will continue to move quickly but cautiously.
Is deep period maybe lunchtime in another country or like a break somewhere else?
It's 11:30 here on the East Coast at the end of D period, so it could be everyone's getting ready to go out for lunch, so they're taking some risk off the table because, you know, lunchtime is basically from like 11:30 to, you know, 1 o'clock. The Patient on Hulu. Steve Carell, probably really good. Whoa. U.S. Navy foils Iranian attempt to capture unmanned vessel in the Gulf. Fed Williams says inflation expectations are well anchored. It will take some time before interest rates begin to fall. I believe we will need to raise and hold interest rates through next year. So Fed Williams a little bit more bearish than Fred Bostic. Let's take a peek. Where are they all at? Let's see if we can narrow some of these people down a little bit.
We're going all in FOMO short right here.
Well, we just saw the VPOC move up here, so a lot of volume coming in on that 90 level. So it looks like that's where the competition is coming in at, and we're starting to see this half pipe really start to gain some edges. It's starting to turn from that, you know, 10-footer that you get in your backyard to that 25-footer that they have in the X Games. The Williams is from New York. Where's Bostic from? It'd be dope if they just put their names next to the number. Parker's in Philly. Mester is in Cleveland. Larkin is in Richmond. Bostic's in Atlanta, so the dirty South.
Ouch.
There must be some voice manipulator that makes you sound like a 13-year-old girl. I don't think you sound like a 13-year-old girl. Maybe 14-year-old girl. I'm just kidding. Still watching this this level right here. Watch this 472. If sellers are serious, they should reoffer this level here, this 4,000. And really just right below it. They should try to front run it. We should see some people try to front run it. Counts are 7 to 37. Joe Biden files to run for re-election officially. Well, there goes that. Ace, I'm not a trader yet, but I am the coolest Arizonian that deported himself to Mexico. Not a troll. I am ex-Acura Master Tech. Hopefully I will be a trader like you guys soon. Yeah, fuck yeah, bro. Yeah, and hopefully you know I wasn't just making a joke, you know what I mean? Like we're a pretty friendly bunch here. We like to joke around, but I wasn't actually calling you a racist or like calling you a racist like in a derogatory way. I was just making a joke. especially because it was referred to the English. You know, the English are probably the biggest jokesters of all, to be honest. Sometimes they speak in jokes, which is why their language is so fascinating. What part of Mexico are you from? Or you're Arizonian? Is that what you guys call it? Arizonian? Here they call it Scrantonians in Pennsylvania. It's funny on the east.
Is it Scrantonites?
No, it's not. That's what I thought it was, the Scrantonites, but it's not. It sounds way cooler, Scrantonites, but it's not. I call them Scrantonians. Even so, your name is now a CE. CE. It's funny being on the East Coast because like people are like the I can tell the accent, or like to me it's an accent, right? Because I'm not from here, so maybe people think I have an accent when I'm talking. And I'm not really a loud talker. I'm pretty quiet, more of an observer than anything. Like I don't really talk a lot, but you know, these Scranton people, they are loud and they're like, you know, they're telling you something, you know what I mean? And you're hearing it no matter what. And they all kind of like, it's almost like being like in like Minnesota, but you don't have like that long draw out. It's just like, you know how they say, "Oh yeah," like it's kind of like that, but it's just a little bit different. But for me, because I'm not from here, I really pick up on it. All right, so E period's opening up here, balancing inside D period. Yeah, they're Irish. Exactly. Everyone here is Irish. You fled to Mexico because you like to drink and drive. Born in Cali? Me too, bro. So back to this 90 level. Seems to be a pretty key level here. So let's see, as E period is inside D period, which way are they going to look to push here? We've got a pretty long buying tail on the low. And a break of D doesn't necessarily mean that the market's going to continue lower. The key here, excuse me, the key here that will give us some information is the breadth, I think, right? If the breadth really starts to pick up, we saw it close to 10, right? It's at 5, so it's still pretty low. My uncle says put counts are picking up 7 to 135, so they're still kicking on pretty low. Still seeing some decent moves here, though. We're just not seeing a lot of strength on the downside. And so, like I said, if E period does break that D low with some real negative breadth, that can be a good indication to go with. If it breaks it on a weak breath, that can be an indication of, you know, be careful. And so far the bot's calling it. Like, I mean, there might have been a couple extra pennies in the bot today. You know, I think what was your closing price at, Uncle Stacy? Does it say? Oh, you're born in Orange County?
525.
No, I'm talking price. Does it say like what price you closed it at?
Oh, hold on. Let me look at the candle. The underlying, so it was a 1037 candle. The underlying was 86 and a quarter.
Yeah, so not, I mean, 75 cents lower, so not much, not much lower.
It bounced up to about, so the actual price of the option that it got out at is 5 and a quarter. It bounced up to like, well, but this is of course calculated price, which means nothing. So it was probably in the 560 range. So it probably would have had an extra 30 cents per contract.
Yeah, so I mean, still
So
pretty
maybe
much
a couple,
on.
maybe 150 bucks at most.
Yeah, so pretty, I mean, pretty much dead on.
Yeah, well, I mean, you want it to catch as close as it can, and I feel like it did a damn good job.
Yeah.
Particularly for being automated.
Born in Orange County? I was born in Palo Alto, Santa Clara County. It ain't cool anywhere. Drinking and driving? Yeah, that's true, it's not. I agree with Poke. So there's the cessation of one time framing, right? Would we say this is an early cessation of one time framing? It's hard to tell. You know, E period is kind of like halfway through the day, right? Like it's tough to call it. Like I would say if we get a cessation of one time framing in D period, I'd say definitely. But and I know it's only a half hour of time, but it seems like
Wouldn't you need it to get into F period to really call a one-time framing in the opposite direction though?
no. So you would just need it to break the C period high to call it one time framing up.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
I see.
But I'm saying a cessation of one time framing to the downside. So A, B, C.
Yeah, definitely. Does.
Yeah.
And then.
But D, I mean, it's even hard to say that it stopped one time framing lower because E period is still inside C. Yeah, we broke D, but it's still
Well,
still
C
kind
is
of a
still
tough call.
freaking big. I mean,
right.
that is a lot of counts.
It could be like Friday too, where you have that one period that don't one time frame down, and then it just, it was just a correction, and then it kept going.
100%. Yep.
Well, yesterday it kind of hit, so the bot got out, and then it kind of just ranged. I mean, and some minimal range for the whole entire rest of the day. Well, for most of the rest of the day, never really got out of that area.
Yeah, it looks like on Friday, H was the only period that didn't one time frame down.
Yeah, and then it just had that little breather period and then continued on. Move. I carry this E period forward as a mechanical level, just because it's right at the B low, and I think that's just like an easy to see spot for candlestick traders to short from. But I mean, I also shorted from a 39.75. Being a little bitch here.
Did you say you were in a short?
Yeah.
What was it? What was your entry?
39.97.75.
Oh, not bad. Nicely done.
We'll see if it gets back below this 90 level. That will be the key here.
The lows off the halfback as well from the D period.
Oh, from the yeah, that's true. I got filled on those Apple calls. 277 16 September 22, the 162 calls. I only got 2 of them though. And that, I mean, might be a little bit early, a little premature on those. So let's watch how this 90 level acts, right? Back to this point of control.
You go over those calls.
Definitely trying to push through.
What's that?
Can you go over those calls and explain why you bought them there and what they cost and stuff? How they're gonna work?
So the calls, I paid $2.77, so $277 each. The reason I bought them is because they're in this gap, and I'm kind of expecting some responsive buying here, because it's a gap, right? Gaps act as excess. When we came down, we weren't able to close the gap all the way, so technically the gap high now is going to be this 58.22. That was lucky. And so we still have excess below, letting us know that there's still a responsive buyer here. Basically, if they get below this 157, that's where I'll close them at. But it's just basically trying to capitalize on something that's been getting hammered a little bit harder than everything else, right? If we look, where's the internet at? On Fibs, this is what I like to use. This little map right here.
What's your target on it? On the
165 up here in this gap, or 163, excuse me, in this gap above. But I have till September 22nd. Hang on, the 22nd? No, September 16th, 2 days after my birthday. So if we look at this, you can see the week performance, or actually, let's look at the month performance. You can't do like a 2-day performance. Yeah, it's hard. I wanted to do a 2-day performance. But I mean, basically what I'm thinking is Apple's been kind of getting beat down a little bit harder than the rest of the tech stocks, right? It's kind of been leading the way down as far as like Apple, even though Amazon's kind of beating it out today. Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft. I'm almost like not including Meta anymore, just because, you know, the Meta's just getting, you know, been getting just kind of punished lately. So coming back into that low ramp of the half pipe here. And they're down about $2 right now. I mean, not too much. But I've got time on them. That's the key. Like I wouldn't do this if on a weekly trade. And I'm not planning on holding them till September 16th, right? I'm just planning on holding them. Really, if Apple gets above the 160, it should see a little bit of move from shorts covering, and that will be probably where I'll close them, in between this area here, because that's where the volatility should pick back up. You know, if it gets back below this gap, then I'll just know that I was wrong and take the loss on them.
Cool, thanks, man.
Yep. Let's see if they reoffer this 90 level. If not, I'm going to close my short. I got my stop on 91.50. Volatility is starting to pick up a little bit here. Oof, Jesus Christ. That was interesting.
Did that just push through your stop?
Yeah, I got closed out. I mean, for profit, but
Of course,
it just ran through it quick.
I just like freaking. I mean, I was looking over and it was like 88, and then all of a sudden it was like 92.
Yeah.
Freaking jumped.
Yeah, it actually closed me out at 95 quarter. What the?
Yeah. It was a freaking leap. It jumped right over 91 and a half.
Yeah.
It was like a blink of an eye. It was gone.
That was a mistake. By
95?
me. Yeah, it jumped in, filled me at 95 right there. I was unlucky, and now it's right back at 90.
Wow.
Did you hold all of them, or did you sell some of them when it was down earlier?
I closed some of them at 91.50 before we got to the 90 level, because I wasn't sure the reaction.
Okay.
But I still gave up. Right there. I mean, it was down at 87. That's a 10-point give up.
So I was thinking that might have been a good time, but then I was like, you know. But of course, I'm not an ES guy, so what do I know?
Yeah, I tend, and this is kind of like the time where I need to like take a mental break and just reevaluate. I start to get, especially on days where I'm like having a good morning, I start to get like pretty loose, and then sometimes give up the gains later on in the day.
I've definitely been there.
But that wasn't your fault though, right?
I mean, yeah, technically, because I should have just closed it instead of setting a stop. Like another thing that I was listening to Jim Dalton yesterday, and something that he was talking about also is that in order to become a master of your trades, or a expert trader, as he calls it in his book, stops shouldn't really be taking you out of a trade. You should be taking yourself out of a trade. So honestly, like, yeah, I mean, that was my fault. I should have just closed that trade myself. I shouldn't have let the stop, just put the stop there and then basically just like, well, if it hits me, it hits me, you know. So you know, that's my fault right there, losing that.
But it jumped past your stop though. You had a stop set up, right?
Right, but I should have just closed my trade instead of setting my stop and waiting for it to hit my stop.
Here's the thing: a stop doesn't mean that it's not going to jump past it and lose. I mean, what was it? 4 points. So you were at 91.50, and it closed at what, 95.50, something like that.
It closed at 95.25.
95.25. So you lost 4.75 points. So the stop doesn't mean that it's going to get out at that point. It just means that if it passes that point, then it'll get out of whatever that next price is. And in this case, it just happened to lose him 4.25 points because it was moving so quickly.
Well, at least on, I mean, I don't know. I think at least on Bybit, stops are considered a market, you know, and it should trade.
Right, but it's market order for the next available.
Right. So
person
this is yes. So this is how it works, right? So let's say, you know, we all have our stop on 92, and there's TJ, there's me, there's you, Kevin, there's Tommy, there's Roach, and here's me at the end of this line, right? Well, it moves up to this level, and it only trades 5 trades or 4 trades, and that puts me not getting filled, even though I'm a market trader, right? And so that doesn't move me to the front of the line up here. It moves me to the back of this line. I move to the back of this line. Only so many contracts trade, and so I keep moving to the back of the line until enough contracts trade to fill me. Because it's you know, it's that's how market orders work. So if you see slippage on market orders, especially, I mean, that thing literally just popped up. I mean, came right back down, but it moved up quick. So not a lot of contracts got traded. And so my orders just jumping in the back of the line over and over and over and over, and then finally it got filled.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought it didn't close. So eventually it did. It just had slippage. It did close. It just was farther down. I thought it didn't close at all. You had to close the show.
Oh no, yeah, right. It was just slippage. Yeah.
I got you. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
You had a good trade because it's still dripping down or dipping down below. If you hadn't put that stop in, you'd still be in it, and it would still be freaking right and well. But I mean, the stop is what keeps you from losing the profit altogether.
Like the dripping down. That sounds better. It's dripping down.
Look at the breath starting to pick up here.
One of the things I like on Phoenix, even though they don't have a lot of liquidity there, is they have a three tick max on the slippage. So that's kind of cool.
And they cover if there's a difference.
I'm not sure that works, but it did say it was a 3 tick max.
That's pretty cool.
Right. Saying you changed your risk today, obviously, because we're on a wider range. When do you decide to flip over to like less risk and larger stop?
During
What makes
B
you?
during B period. So like I kind of just base it off of the previous day's range. So like yesterday's range was pretty small, and then all of a sudden during B period we had already pretty much hit all of yesterday's range just in A and B period, and that's kind of when I was like, okay, we need to take some risk off the table here. Just be careful. So I'm pretty much just basing it off of the previous day's range, and then like I have this right here. You see the ES, the ATR, I have it on the daily chart on the bottom of my sectors chart. And I just have the ATR up there, which is the average trading range, and it's 74. And so pretty much anytime we're above 50, I tend to take a bit of risk off just because, I mean, 74 points is a lot of range. Whereas yesterday was like, what was the range yesterday? Yesterday we had 16 to 64. So yesterday we're in like a 50-point range. Anything below 50, I'm pretty comfortable trading. I'm pretty comfortable picking those spots. But once we start to get above those levels, and you can see like today was 46 to about 4,000 on B period. So we pretty much hit yesterday's range, right off the bat, and that's where it kind of made me a little bit nervous or more cautious.
Bit more space on your stops.
Right. And especially, I mean, it's all kind of a feel, right? Too, like with the tempo, depending upon how the tempo is, depending upon where the market is going, right? Is it breaking previous lows? Is it breaking out of balance? Like, I kind of get a little bit more cautious when it comes to things like that. But I tend to, anything when we start breaking out around a 50-point range in the first two periods, that's where I'll tend to start, getting a little bit more cautious, especially because we saw the breadth start to pick up too.
So if you kind of have like a real big initial balance.
Right.
Cool. Thank you, mate.
Back up to this 90 level. This 90 level's been acting like a magnet here. What do we got? We got 8 minutes until F period opens up. See, and this is why I normally just hop off after lunch, because if I just keep sitting here, what will happen is I'll just be like, oh yeah, let me hop in some more. And typically, I don't know if this happens to you guys, but for me, when I'm already up for the day, I tend to bitch out of trades a little bit quicker than I normally would on other trades. Like, and that typically costs me profit. And so then I just get kind of frustrated.
Isn't part of that the resting of your emotions? Like
Yeah.
keeping your, so like, because when you're heightened, so if you've been at it for a while and you just keep going back and keep going back, eventually your emotions just start becoming more and more apparent.
Right.
Well, I guess maybe I should speak for myself. That's what happens to me. And
those Apple calls are up 5%. Maybe I'll close them today. Who knows? Let me text Jared and see how the big guy's doing. He's in here still.
Say they had to close out, and it sounded like he closed out quite far down. He must have took a bit of a whack.
Yeah, it was a 20-point whack, and if I know Jared, there's probably 8 lots at least of a whack. So it's pretty big.
The course that you're putting together.
What about it?
How's it coming on?
Good. Yeah, now that I'm actually like settled and got everything set up. I recorded one more episode yesterday, and what I think I might start doing is just putting them on as I record episodes. It makes it a little bit easier just putting in episodes, like on YouTube, and just post them on YouTube, and that way, it could just be in pieces. I wanted to do it, and part of it really is going to have to be, part of it is going to have to be a replay session. And so that one I'm going to have to do live. And so what I might do is, after we get done in the morning here, switch to a replay and replay the session, or replay a session that we learned something from, and then kind of go through, any questions or standouts with that session.
It's a great idea.
Brad, one thing I was talking to Steve about was, like, you never get to watch other people like manage their trades, so you really only know what you know, and you really don't know if you're doing it right or wrong. Because I was in the Zoom, or not the Zoom, but I was watching him and he was in a trade. I'm like, man, you do it so different than I do. And I was just thinking, like, obviously it don't have to be live, like while you're actually in a trade, but it would be cool if you recorded like your screen while you're doing a trade, so we can see like how you manage your trade, because you really don't get to see that a lot. Like, how are you adjusting your stop? How are you, how do you take profit while you're reading the market? Managing for continuation, like all those little things. I don't know. I just thought that might be cool.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. I could definitely do that.
Yeah, 'cause I was thinking about, it's like that one episode, boot camp, where we went back over, the day, and showed what you're thinking and what you're doing at the time. Super helpful.
Yeah, I'll look for a good screen recorder this afternoon, and then I'll just start recording the sessions and then posting them. Yeah, I don't mind doing that at all.
Cool. Yeah, I don't care if it's live. I'd like to see the how to manage it, just because you don't get to see that. Like, I don't have to compare myself to
Snagit or Camtasia. Camtasia is actually a really good one. It'll record all the audio, and you can do portions of the screen or windows or whatever. It's a great app.
What did you say the name of the app was, Stacey? Sorry, mate.
I think he said Camtasia.
Camtasia.
Yeah.
Camtasia or do as well, as far as Camtasia has a lot more freedom. It's a very, very flexible tool for recording. Snagit is more meant for screenshots, but it does allow you to do other or capable as Camtasia is. OBS is good. Is OBS commercial, or is it freeware?
I have no idea.
I was asking Roach. Oh, it's free. Yeah, that's so OBS is good. I'm not gonna say it doesn't do similar things. Camtasia is just much more refined and a lot easier because when you have that many inputs for all the stuff you're doing, for audio inputs, OBS gets a little bit complicated in how you actually capture the audio. So like if you wanted to do a voiceover, it would be, if you were doing it real time, that would be sometimes depending upon, and given how much stuff you have, it might just be complicated with OBS. But it would work the same. You just, there's a lot, I mean, free, imagine what free software is. It's just never going to be as easy to use as a commercial version.
I've been using that Hit Film Express to record the class.
Well, if you already have a tool and you can use it, I mean, try it out. See if you could see if it'll do what you want. Camtasia is like $100, so I mean,
oh, that's not bad.
If you don't need to pay it, no sense in doing it.
We just put 60 minutes, 61-minute candles, and we can't establish over 97. Just like a little peek in, then comes back under. A little peek in, comes back under.
Yeah, this 90 level seems to be a grind. If they can't hold it below or hold it above this 90 level, they're really gonna probably give this thing up.
Okay, so
F period.
Should we take bets on whether or not it's gonna break above or below?
Do a poll.
If it's anything like Friday, I think it's gonna
So
fall.
we already know that I can't remember his name. Jared. We can't remember that Jared. We know that Jared would be, pulling for it to go down, but I'm just saying.
So something key here too that we want to look at is the shape of the profile today really is starting to form a B shape. Yeah, we've got this kind of longer buying tail on the bottom, but we're starting to get a bit of short covering here at these lows, which is what makes it, I'm more leaning to the downside naturally, right? We've still got negative breadth. Every sector is red, but if we look on a 15-minute chart, I mean, the B is pretty clear. Here's Apple, B, right? So, basically, it's almost safe at this point to sell rallies until it gets back up into this upper distribution. We kind of assume this is a distribution here. This is a lower distribution here. Let me erase it, make it a little bit more clean. We have a distribution here. We can see where the volume's at. We have a lower distribution here. The volume's a little bit more spread out. This distribution down here is short covering looking, and then up here looked like selling, and where the liquidation kind of started. So until the market gets back up above into this upper distribution, it almost seems that we could probably sell rallies. Now, if F period takes C high, it's gonna, you're gonna want to be a bit more cautious, as I still think that this 50 SMA is a weak spot for the profile. I think it's a lot of mechanical sellers and a lot of mechanical buyers, whereas you had big money selling right here. You had liquidation start here, and you had, prayer buying, we can call it, here on the 50 SMA from people that were also long from up here buying into the stronger seller, initiative seller selling below yesterday's low. Well, yesterday's low's here, I guess, but selling below yesterday's Globex session. So until really we get back up into this volume here at the 23, 26 level, I think that if the market does pop, you're probably safe to try to short it back down in. It's a little bit more dangerous to get long at these lows, just because, I mean, you have a pretty long tail at the low. So I think there's opportunity for a long, right? Because I think there's opportunity for a little short covering rally, but I think you'd be safer just being patient and selling rallies today, because that's pretty much all, the upside so far, at least what it looks like, is just short covering, right? It's these guys right here covering their positions here, right? They got the juice here, so their cup's full still, so they're still willing to, you know, to cover down here, because there's still opportunity to dip down in this little cup of OJ down here. But as it starts to get above, I mean, really above the C, you could still sell rallies, I think. It's just so fucking weak. But up here, when it gets close to this 23, that's where you've got to be careful, because if the seller starts to get out of their position, that's when you could start to see a move. And I know that's, you know, we're talking 93 to 23. It's a pretty decent sized move, and it almost feels like, oh, well, why don't I just get long if we think it's going to come up there, right? Well, this is just, we're just, you know, it would be nice if everything was that easy, right? Well, like, oh, I think the market's going to come down to 93, so I'll just get short now, wait till it comes down to 93, and then I'll just, you know, then I'll get long there. Like, it's just not how it works, you know what I mean? Like, and it's really hard to explain, because you've just got to kind of, there's so many factors, right? And that's what really brought me back yesterday when I was listening to Jim, is that he talked about that's just one data point. And he was, I mean, he must have said it, I can't remember what video I was listening to, but he said it like 5 or 6 times because people kept asking questions, and he's like, that's just one data point, that's just one data point. And so it really made me kind of bring that back up to the surface level and think like, okay, am I getting fixated on some of my trades? Because I didn't trade last week. I did okay. I only traded Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday last week. I didn't trade Thursday or Friday. But the week before that I traded just like absolute shit, like just fucking terrible. And I think, you know, my reason was because I was fixating on one data point where I was just like, okay, well, there's a weak level, so we're fucking going back there. And I got so fixated on certain you know, levels that I got myself into hot water a lot. I think I finished down on 3 accounts and up on 2 accounts. You know, so not great at all. Especially when I had such a good start to August. Fucking ruined it. But, you know, what can you do? And so that's just something that I really think will help everybody, right? Is if they maintain that. I don't know if that's happening to you guys, but it definitely, you know, I think it was the source of my issue 2 weeks ago. You know, last week I traded really well, really patient. I only traded 3 days, so I didn't get to trade the 2 volatile days, and the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday last week were fairly easy days to trade, right? The market kind of just was in balance. Thursday we had the nice breakout to the upside, and then Friday, of course, that huge sell-off. But
skipping whole days, that is patient.
You know, so just something that got drawn to my attention, and I wanted to make sure that I shared it. But on that note, it is lunchtime here, and it's about that time where if I stay on the computer much longer, I'll be in that over trading data. I got to build a bookshelf. I ordered a bookshelf to put all my books on. I want to fill it with books that I've read, like an old man. Like, see all those books on that shelf? I've read all those books. Yeah, I want to buy some fucking encyclopedias.
It's like a trophy wall.
Yeah? Exactly, yeah. And I am gonna put like a bunch of Army awards that I've gotten over the years on there, like things that people have given me and stuff. So
all those blue ribbons from first grade. Nice.
Yeah, all those second place ribbons.
Participation ribbons.
You know what's funny is my son was in track back before we moved. He got second place in one of the races, and he didn't even want the ribbon. He's like, meh.
Yeah, second place is first loser.
Yeah, that's what my dad always said. My dad would be like, you know what second place is? The first loser. Like, oh.
People start handing
That
out
sounds
trophies
about
for
right.
participation. It's like, you don't need no trophy. Give me that.
Yeah, they
What
gave
Link
my
would say,
son
man.
a participation trophy for soccer, and we threw it in the trash. You know, it's nice to have, I guess, but I just don't.
It's even worse when they want you to buy the trophy. It's like, it's for participation and you want me to pay.
Yeah, it's like, you know, come on.
Come on. You think if F can't get over this E high, that's just going to show how weak that those initial singles were right there?
Yeah, I do. I think if F gets back below 90, basically back below its own low, and you start to see the breath pick up, this thing is gonna shit the bed. And I'm gonna fucking be pissed that I sold those AMD puts. I mean, it just looks, like I said, this doesn't look like real buying at these levels, right? We might see some more buying down here, but for the most part, it just looks like short covering. D, E, and F really just look like shorts covering. That's it.
Yeah. I feel like this is a trick that gets played on me a lot. Like, when I start referencing it to another day that happened recently, I'm like, oh, this is just like Friday. And then you get super short, and then the whole thing just rips up because you're so fixated on, oh, it's going to do what it did last time.
Those are the worst days, dude. The freaking worst days.
Luckily,
I've done that.
Luckily for today, we have a very psychological level. And because we're getting later in the day, a lot of the bigger traders are pretty much done, right? They've captured their profit for the day, right? They've told their guy on the desk, like, hey, get me out of this short. So if we do get above 4,000 and start to hang out above 4,000, there's decent odds that this thing does start to pop, or at least rotate a little bit more. But I think as long as we're still below that 4,000, if they're not able to capture that 4,000, the longer we hang out below it, the better odds are that we test some of this excess down here. Let's see how it acts at this 90. Oh yes, Roach, I will have so much fun. Adam, appreciate it, man. Thank you. You have a good day as well.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, thank you. See you, Patrick.
Good job as always, Brad. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, well, we've pretty much talked about what we're expecting for the rest of the day. Make sure that you are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan. If it's your first time tuning into the stream, make sure you jump in that chat and post like, hey, I want to get in the Discord if you're not already in the Discord, so we can get you in the Discord. The only thing we ask is that you be positive and respectful. You know, we've got a good community of people that we don't want to get corrupted by the natural evolution of Discord trolls that just seem to be lurking around. But yeah, other than that, and if you're watching this on a recording, just email me at brad@thetradevets.com and I will send you that Discord link. I even had someone hit me up on Twitter asking to get into the Discord. So, you know, if you can't reach me on somewhere, just hit up one of the social medias. I'm pretty responsive when I get direct messages. It's a lot easier. But yeah, other than that, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you guys later.
Thanks a lot, bro.